Churches gathering in person is a source of considerable concern and has certainly been an instance where super spreading has happened and could happen again. So I think most churches really ought to be advised, if they're not already doing so, to go to remote virtual kinds of services.
And Mary Louise, Dr. Collins himself is a regular churchgoer. He says that's what his church has done.
All right, that is Tom Gelton. He covers faith and belief for NPR. Thank you, Tom.
You bet.
In a last-minute push, the Trump administration has set a date to auction off drilling rights in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. The sale will be January 6th. As Tegan Hanlon with Alaska's Energy Desk reports, that could complicate President-elect Joe Biden's promise to prevent drilling in an area that has been protected for decades.
The lease sale could cement one of the Trump administration's biggest priorities in expanding oil and gas development. But conservation and tribal groups quickly pushed back. They point out that Thursday's announcement came before the end of a comment period in the previous stage in the leasing process, and they say it's another example of the Trump administration cutting corners.
You're 1 mile from the finish line and you decide to take a shortcut is what this screams to me, and you hope you don't get caught.
That's Matt Newman, a senior staff attorney at the Native American Rights Fund in Anchorage. He represents 3 Gwich'in tribes who live near the refuge and oppose drilling on the coastal plain because of risks to the migrating caribou that give birth there.
The Gwich'in name for the coastal plain translates into English as the sacred place where life begins. And it is not a place, in their points of view, that is compatible with or can coexist with oil development.
The Gwich'in conservation groups and 15 other states have already filed lawsuits challenging the Trump administration's environmental review of development in the coastal plain, which is also home to polar bears and other wildlife. But in Kaktovik, the only community inside the coastal plain, some Indigenous Inupiat residents greeted Thursday's announcement with enthusiasm. Matthew Rexford is Kaktovik's tribal administrator, and he says drilling could boost the local economy.
We have watched oil and gas development on the North Slope for almost 50 years, and we believe that through the stringent regulatory environment and the oversight of our home rule borough, the North Slope borough, all impacts from exploration and development can be mitigated to preserve the area.
Kara Moriarty, head of the Alaska Oil and Gas Association, also took Thursday's announcement as good news.
From an industry standpoint, having a lease sale is the first step of gaining access to responsibly developing resources that are needed to meet global demand.
In 2017, a Republican-led Congress passed legislation that opened the coastal plain to drilling and required a lease sale there by the end of 2021. But it's still not clear who might show up to a sale. The pandemic hit the oil industry hard and oil prices are still low. Plus, several big banks have said they won't fund oil development in the refuge after facing pressure from drilling opponents. There's also concern about long-term demand as the world moves away from fossil fuels. President-elect Joe Biden says he opposes drilling in the refuge, but if leases are finalized before he takes office on January 20th, they could be difficult to revoke. For NPR News, I'm Tegan Hanlon in Anchorage.
This is All Things Considered. An Olympic pioneer died this week. Rafer Johnson won gold in the 1960 decathlon and led the Olympic team as its first black captain.
Let's go back to the beginning. Rafer Johnson was born in Texas in 1934. His family later moved to a small farming town in Central California. Money was tight. His family even lived in a railroad boxcar for a while. Johnson excelled in school and sports. After high school, he went to UCLA, where he became student body president and played basketball for the legendary coach John Wooden.
Yeah, it was the decathlon, though, that made him an Olympic and national hero. He won a silver medal in the event in 1956. That win set the stage for the Rome Games in 1960 and an epic showdown between Johnson and CK Young of Taiwan. The two athletes were actually friends. They had the same coach at UCLA.
Well, in Rome, the quest for gold came down to the final decathlon event, the 1,500-meter race. All Rayford Johnson had to do was finish within 10 seconds of C.K. Young to win the gold medal. David Marinis is the author of Rome 1960, the Olympics that changed the world.
He just kept it right behind CK the entire time, finished within a few seconds of him, won the decathlon, and they collapsed in each other's arms. And it was in the dusk, it was raining, it was thrilling for everybody who was watching that race, knowing that all Rayford had to do was hang with CK to win it. And when they were done, they collapsed in each other's arms. And that the photograph and the video of that moment really encapsulates what the Olympics want to be and can be in their best moments.
Johnson retired from competition after that win. He tried his hand at acting in movies and TV shows like Dragnet.
We need those recruits. Not only that, we need Evans. He completes his 4th year in the department next month.
That means he can take the sergeant's exams.
That's right. He'd make a good sergeant, wouldn't he?
Johnson also served as a Goodwill ambassador and became a close friend of the Kennedy family, particularly Robert Kennedy. He was there when RFK was assassinated in a Los Angeles hotel kitchen in 1968 and even helped subdue the gunman, Sirhan Sirhan.
I am right here, and Rayford Johnson has a hold of a man who apparently has fired the shot. That's it, Rayford, get it! Get the gun, Rayford!
Johnson was a pallbearer at the funeral and later a pivotal part of the fledgling Special Olympics founded by RFK's sister, Eunice Kennedy Shriver.
Wow. In 1984, 24 years after being the first black team captain to carry the U.S. flag in the opening ceremony, he became the first African American to light the Olympic cauldron.
Author David Marinis has a theory about why more people don't know about this champion and pioneer. He thinks it might be because Rayford Johnson lived almost too good of a life.
He didn't live a life of confrontation. He didn't live a life of ups and downs. He was pretty much successful and classy throughout his life. And America tends to be drawn more to people who have these, conquering their own demons. And so he was almost like a paragon. And that made him seem a little bit mythical or unreal.
Maybe, but the legacy Rayford Johnson leaves behind is very real. He died yesterday at home at the age of 86.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
Coming up on All Things Considered, how TV is showing American viewers what fighting a pandemic truly looks like. That story is just ahead. In the forecast, lots of clouds creeping in overnight. Tonight, temperatures about 38 degrees. For tomorrow, overcast for much of the day. Could have some late afternoon showers, rising to about the mid-50s tomorrow. And then for the weekend, outside of Boston to the north and west, there could be some snow, maybe 6 inches or more Saturday into Sunday. Closer to Boston, Saturday should be rain, gusty winds, highs in the mid-40s. Sunday, rain or snow showers early on, then partly sunny, just about 40 degrees. 46 degrees now in Boston at 5:49.